Welcome into the first of a series of interviews we will be having with some of the legends who have worn South Carolina Stingrays jerseys. They will hold an alumni night on Saturday evening, and Dash and Field Pass Hockey are proud to be co-sponsors of that. Joining us is one of the members of the 2022 class of the Stingrays Hall of Fame, Jeff Jakaitis, goaltender. Thanks very much for doing this, man. How you doing?
Good, yeah. I'm looking forward to reminiscing a little bit and talking some hockey. It's been a little while, so yeah, glad to be here and look forward to it.
So the first question that comes to mind is from normal Stingrays fans and from people who are outside of that orbit. Like, what are you doing these days? How you staying sharp? I saw you were an e-bug a couple of times this season for the South Carolina Stingrays. So you're obviously still in the market. What's going on in Jeff's world these days?
Yeah, it's been busy. Obviously, interesting time all around the last couple of years. Worldwide with pandemic and that. But I officially retired. I think in 2018. Like you said, a couple e-bug stints here and there since, but last full season I think was 17-18. So shortly after I retired there, I got a job with I was SPAWAR at the time, now Naval Information Warfare Center. So I do financial management for them. So I've been there a little over 3 years, and kind of lucked out, really landed on my feet. I had some help from actually some people that I had met through hockey. Kind of a small world, but a good friend who I knew from helping out with some of the youth teams and that kind of helped me get a foot in the door, and it's been good. I've enjoyed it. I've been really lucky. Most places I've gone, I've been able to work with great people, and I had it was an adjustment going from playing hockey to an office environment, but have a really good team there, really good people that were patient and helped out, and people that I like to see, like to interact with, talk with. That's one thing I really enjoyed about hockey, and that's kind of carried over for me. So I've actually been teleworking for about 2 years there. Again, kind of lucky, to be in a position where from a work standpoint, it was just kind of shifted my office from going in every day to a home office. So good situation there. And I still help out with the youth program a little bit. I've been doing some goalie coaching there, and exciting time on that front too. I saw our 14U, one of the teams that I've worked with for a couple of years now, is in nationals right now. They won their first 2 games. It was a nail biter, I think 3-2 in a shootout yesterday. So it's been fun to stay involved in hockey and be around the rink and kind of live vicariously through some of those younger guys now. So it's been busy, but busy in a good way. So
How's the glove hand these days?
not what it once was, but yeah, I'm trying to kind of stay in shape and stay quick, and it's been fun. I found actually there's a group. There's an outdoor like roller hockey rink in town. I've been in Charleston for probably close to 8 years now.
Wow.
And I didn't know about it until a couple years ago, but I found a group that plays a couple nights a week over there. Again, some great people, and try to get out there and stay in shape, still compete a little bit, and have some fun. So
Yeah, absolutely. What is the one thing that you didn't realize that was going to be part of the transition from hockey life to regular Joe life, I guess? To what is the one thing that stood out to you in that transition from your playing days to non-playing?
um, honestly, I think what I've struggled with the most is just time. That's one thing that we don't, at least for me personally, I didn't realize, especially early on in my career. I feel like I did a better job of, later in my career, trying to set some things up for what I was going to do after. But Um, again, weekends are kind of a toss up and you're on the road a lot. It's a very abnormal schedule and you are busy, but, practice days, you're done at the rink at, noon, 1 o'clock most days, and you've got the rest of the afternoon to, do your grocery shopping, to, cook dinner, whatever you might, do, you have that free time. And so, and on top of that, you do your workouts here and there, but for the most part, you get your exercise, you burn your calories, you stay in shape at the rink, you stay sharp at the rink. And that's kind of your job, is your exercise, is, staying healthy. And so I think, having a job where it's not as physical, I'm at a desk the majority of the day. I still have to, find time to get the exercise in, to stay in shape and get to the grocery store and cook. Like, I feel like my days are just, I have a lot less free time, and that's something that I definitely miss. Early on in my career, I wish I would have taken more advantage of, that free time in the afternoons and evenings. It seems like I'm always, running one direction or another right now. So
Yeah, completely understand all of that, man. It's been tough, for sure. I went back and I was doing some research on you, and you were a rarity in college in that in your senior year at Lake Superior State, you were an assistant captain. And and uh, I guess for those, we don't normally think of goalies as being captains or assistant captains, but did you find that having the leadership role that you did on those teams, and I assume on every other team that you went to after that, did you find that that helped you as you moved through your playing career?
um I don't know that it was anything that was all that different for me. It actually, it wasn't something that I was necessarily comfortable with. And I had a meeting with the coach at the time, with Jim Rock, who, he was the coach at Lake State, and we had kind of talked about it. And, I'm not a very vocal guy in the locker room. I don't rah rah. I like to just, I show up, I do my work, I have fun, I enjoy being there. And, um, I just, that's how I always approached it, was just, I'm going to take care of my part. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to, try to support the other guys, but I was never a guy that was comfortable with, being vocal in the locker room or away from the rink, or, um, and so when he approached me about it, I kind of expressed that. I said, listen, I'm not, I don't know that I'm comfortable with taking on that role. It's not something that I want to do. And, um, he kind of expressed that, listen, I'm not asking you to do this or take on this role because I want you to do something different. I'm asking you to do this because I think you set an example by doing what you do. Like, just continue doing what you do. And that's what I want guys to see. And that's kind of how you'll be in the leadership role, is by setting that example and coming to work every day and doing what you do. And so I think a letter or no letter or nothing, it didn't really change anything for me. Like I say, I always felt like that was, I tried to take pride in, being on the ice early and putting in the work, and staying in the room late, or, going to the gym, um, kind of doing those extra things. And, if there was any leadership, it was kind of silent or quiet, and kind of by example. And that's, I was never someone who was gonna get someone else fired up or be yelling and leading the charge out of the locker room. I was kind of, at least tried anyway, to be quiet and make sure that I always took care of what I needed to take care of to best help the team. And that's kind of, how I approached it. So
More of a modeling the way, if you will, as opposed to jumping up and down and yelling, all of that.
yeah, exactly. It was kind of, I took a lot of pride in always trying to, do the right thing every day, and put in the work every day, and trying to be a good teammate and be supportive, and not, I felt like I was more of an actions guy. I wanted my actions to kind of, show what I brought to the team. And that was how I felt I could bring value, not by, being vocal or things like that is, I always tried to keep that perspective or come at it from that angle that, it's actions are louder than words, and try to, bring what I could and contribute through, what I did on the ice and in the locker room and things like that. So.
You broke into the ECHL in 2007 with the Columbia Inferno. I guess it was the team just right up the highway from Charleston. Was there much of a transition for you going from Lake State to the ECHL? And if so, what was that transition like for you?
Yeah, it was tough to be honest. I think it's a very different world. I think when you're in college, you have, your days are structured. Like you've got, class, you have practice, you have your workouts, you've got, the cafeteria, and I don't want to say babysat isn't the right word, but your time and your days are very structured. And when you get to, in college, you go get off the ice, you go into the gym, the workout's posted on the wall, you go do the workout that's posted on the wall, you clean up, you go to dinner, you go to class. Whereas, in the ECHL or professional hockey in general, like you're not babysat like that. It's kind of up to you to, you've got your practice time, but there's a gym available, but you're on your own. Like you do what you think you need to do to perform, and either you perform or you don't. And if you don't have a job very long. And so it's different in that regard. And I think it took me a little while to kind of make that adjustment of making, there were some growing pains. I mean, I joked, with Matt Shearer as, another guy with the Stingrays legend. And, my first ECHL start with Columbia was actually in Charleston in the Coliseum. And I think we lost like 7-2 or something. I was in for all 7 goals. I think Matt had a couple. So really jump started his career. But, it wasn't a transition where I just hit the ground running. I was lucky that I was on a 2-way contract with Toronto and Columbia. And so I had, in the East Coast League, contracts are weekly. And I don't know that I would have made it out of that first month or couple months, because it took me a while to kind of get my feet under me and learn what I needed to do to be successful. And, there were certainly some growing pains, getting adjusted to that different lifestyle. So.
After a couple of years in the ECHL, you decided to move over to Europe, and you played in Italy for a little bit, for at least a season. What role did playing in Europe at that point in your career help in your development?
It's tough to say. I think it was, from a personal standpoint, I think it was really good for me just to, experience living in another country and not necessarily knowing the language and speaking the language and learning to, just a different way of doing things and a different way of life. And I think from a personal standpoint, it was a great experience to be the person that was different, and be, outside of where I was comfortable and have to learn, how to figure out what meat was what at the grocery store. And it's just all these little things that I think you kind of take for granted here. I had to learn over there. And so it was certainly on a personal level, a good, definitely good for my growth and learning some lessons. And from a playing standpoint, it was kind of, I had played a couple years in the East Coast League. I think at that time I had maybe 1 or 2 call-ups. I played like 1 game in the American League, and I kind of felt like, you have that small window early on usually where you kind of settle into where you're going to play. There's some guys that break that mold and move differently, but your trajectory is kind of upward, and you get an opportunity, and you get a contract, and you get some games in the American League, and you're going to develop, or you kind of get labeled as an East Coast League guy or an American League guy, and I felt like I had, a couple solid years, and it just didn't seem like I was going to get that full-time opportunity in the American League. I felt like it was a good opportunity the exchange rate was good. The money generally compared to the East Coast League is a little bit better overseas in a lot of those leagues. So I felt like financially it seemed like a good move. In hindsight, it was probably a little early. If I had to make the move again, I might have waited a couple more years. But that was kind of my thinking at the time, and certainly don't regret the experience. I mean, it was, I met some great people over there, and lived in really a beautiful part of the world. Where I played is, it's in the Italian Alps, and I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. And I downhill skied for the first time in my life on, some of the best ski hills in Europe, and really had a great time, and a great cultural experience, and hockey as well. It was fun to see hockey in a different part of the world, and we got to play with some guys from the Italian national team who had played in the Olympics in Torino, and to see a different aspect of the hockey world was a good experience, and certainly enjoyed it. Loved the time there. In hindsight, I probably went a little early, but I wouldn't necessarily look back and say there's anything I regret. It was a great ride. So.
Sure. You come back to the ECHL after a stint with Dayton in the Central Hockey League, and this is, you guys came through Wichita, where I'm at, and I watched you guys play in the year that you were in Dayton in the old Central League. So I've actually watched you play in person, not just on ECHL TV. So you played in Dayton for a year, and then you found your way back to the ECHL with Gwinnett there a couple years later. You didn't play a whole lot there with Gwinnett. How did you end up with South Carolina?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a winding road. So I played the year in Italy, and then decided to come back to North America, and I actually, you have a tendency to fall off the map a little bit when you go overseas, unless you're in one of the top tier leagues. And so I made a number of calls kind of down in this area, and teams either already had their goalies set or didn't have a spot, and I was struggling to find a spot in the East Coast League coming back from Italy. And so I had, again, hockey being a small world, there was a connection with front office guy that I knew, set me up with a coach, Brian Gratz, who was in Dayton at the time. And he offered me a spot, and treated me very well. I had a great relationship with him, and we crossed paths down the line. He was in Greenville for a bit, and really a good guy, and gave me an opportunity when no one else really would. And so I, again, lucked out kind of landing there, got to play a lot of hockey, and a lot of good hockey. And it was kind of funny, part of the reason I went overseas is because I never got that opportunity in the American League. And so I felt like coming back from Italy and playing in the Central League, it was kind of even further down, or further off the map, working towards that American League goal. And
Sure.
But that year that I played in Dayton, actually, I ended up playing the most games I ever had in the American League. I had to call up to Worcester for a little bit, and then ended up spending a couple months in Portland. And so again, got a good opportunity there. Good team, good guys, some older guys, guy Colin Stewart that I knew from my hometown. It was a good environment, and got comfortable, and played some good hockey there. So I ended up getting another American League contract, and Portland switched affiliation. So it was with Buffalo. They switched from Portland back to the Rochester Americans. So it was Buffalo, Rochester, Gwinnett at the time. So that's kind of how I ended up in Gwinnett. I signed a contract with Rochester, and then spent maybe the first 3 weeks to a month up there, and then ended up in Gwinnett. Actually got hurt that year. So that was, I had my first ACL surgery the year I was in Gwinnett. Didn't come out of, didn't get cleared to play from that surgery until like Christmas the following season. And so it was a similar situation where a lot of teams kind of had their goalies set. I was back home in Minnesota for a bit, went to Gwinnett to skate a little bit, finish training, but they were stacked with goalies. They had, I wanted like Louis Domingue and Mike Lee, I think at the time. And so they let me practice a bit, but kind of said, we'd love to have you, but we don't have a spot. They had contract guys, and that's the way it works, unfortunately. And so, again, I made some calls in the area. I had been down here and liked the area, being in Columbia, Gwinnett, I liked the Southeast, and I called Carbs and spoke with Carbs, and they had a spot at the time. He didn't know how permanent it was going to be, but they had kind of an urgent need. And so he offered me up kind of an open-ended, hey, we need a guy for at least a couple weeks, and we would love to have you. We'll see where it goes. And it kind of took off from there. It was really, hockey's funny the way it works. Some of those times, it's just a little opportunity here or there can go a long way. And so Carbs, opened the door, and had the opportunity to come here, and spent a lot of time here now. So
the rest, as they say, is history, obviously.
Yeah.
What was I watched Spencer Carberry as a player when he played in Tulsa, and I knew he was kind of a fiery person. Was he fiery as a coach?
Yes, but in a very controlled way. And I know that kind of seems like contradictory a bit, but so I had played against Carbs as well. So when I was in Charlotte, my second year, I played in Charlotte, and he was playing in South Carolina. So we used to always kind of joke around that we had a guy, Cedric Bernier, and every time Carbs would end up going toe to toe with him. And so it's, having known Carbs as a player, like I knew what kind of player he was. And I think, he's that type of guy and that type of player that you can't not respect the way he plays. He plays hard, he plays right, he plays honest. And it's, I always joke, I kind of have the history of like, I feel like I'm responsible for a lot of guys getting into the Stingrays Hall of Fame. We joked when I came here, one of the biggest goals of his career, I think it would have been maybe game 5 or 6, something like that, in the first round of playoffs. So the year they won the Kelly Cup was the year I was in Charlotte. We played South Carolina in the first round. And one of the biggest goals of Carb's career, he scored on me in the playoffs. I can't remember if it was game 6 or when it was, but he was kind of coming down the left side and took a slap shot and beat me short side of the glove. And I used to always joke that it hit a stick on the way in and changed direction, but I don't know if that's accurate or not. But having that history, I kind of knew how he was as a player. And so it's an interesting dynamic when you come in having played against the guy, but it was easy in my case, like I say, because knowing how he was as a player, I knew he did things the right way. And I think, talking about like his passion and his, he played the game hard. He would do whatever it takes. I mean, he'd take a slap shot in the face to win a game. That's just the type of person he is and guy that he is. And so you certainly got that as a coach, but it wasn't he wasn't the type of guy that was going to come and throw trash cans around the locker room and slam doors and you'd get some of a little bit of that, but it was controlled, it was calculated. I think having been a player for a long time, he knew what it was like to be a player, and so he knew how to motivate guys because he was there. He had been through it, and like I say, he's a very he's a smart coach. He knows how to. He's a player's coach, and that he knows when guys need time off. He knows when guys need to blow off steam. He knows when guys need to be reined in and maybe put in their place a little bit. And I always felt like he did a great job of really managing teams and managing guys. And for me personally, I always had that a high level of respect for him. He treated me very well and stuck with me through some hard times. And I owe a lot to him and the opportunity that he gave me to come here. And he's a passionate player, a passionate coach, and it's it's not a surprise to me at all to see the success he's had as a coach. He's up there with one of the better coaches I've ever played for. So
South Carolina goaltender Jeff Jakaitis joining us here. Aside from the coach, what made those teams that you played on in South Carolina that went deep into the playoffs? You made 2 Kelly Cup final runs in 15 and 17, and then you were in the playoffs seemingly every year. What made those teams so special?
I think it differs probably from team to team, but it's a unique organization. From the ownership to the president to the office to the coaches, it's a unique organization. I bounced around a bit before I came here and had an opportunity to see a lot of different organizations, and it's unique in that it's a very close knit, kind of almost like a family atmosphere here, and that with the Zuckers, they're involved, and they're at the games, and they're at the rink, and you see them in the tunnel, and you can tell they love the team and cared about the team, and the president, and with Rob and Carbs, who I played for, and Warsofsky, and I think there's just I mentioned like Matt Shear, Seitz, Marietti, Kaiser, all these guys that Johan have stayed here in the area. I think it's really unique, and you almost have that family feel when you come here. You see guys at Monday night skates and around town, and there's generations of guys that have played and stayed here, and I think that's very unique. And when you come here as a player, knowing the success that they've had in the past, and seeing those guys around, you want to do everything you can to build on that and be a part of it, and kind of live up to that, I guess, or build on that legacy. And I think it's they've only missed the playoffs once in 20 plus years, almost 30 years now. So yeah. It's I think they've had a lot of success in large part because they do things the right way. They treat their players well, they take care of you. And I think as a player, you always feel like, that's how you give back, is by your performance on the ice, and making sure that, it's a great city, it's a great organization, it's a great place to be. And I think you have to keep that mindset that you're lucky to be a part of that, and you owe something for that. It's that, but through your performance and what you do on the ice. And so I think that kind of is always, that's just part of the organization here. And I think, the one year, I think it was 15-16 when we went to the final, is that was just one of those unique groups of team, group of guys, a team where it was just, everybody got along, and it almost was like, I say, a circus atmosphere, and that we were constant. It was the most fun I ever had playing hockey. But I think everybody also knew that, in order to have that kind of loose leash and be able to have fun and enjoy ourselves, we had to perform. And it was almost like those two things kind of fed off each other. once we kind of found our groove and started having some success, it was, we got a little bit of leeway, and so we started having fun, and it was just really a good group of guys, generally an older team, and guys that had been around and had some fun stories, and were in it for the right reasons. And it was one of those once in a career years where everybody just kind of gets along. It was a great room, and I think that translated to success on the ice, and that translated to more fun. And like I say, it almost got to this circus like atmosphere where it was just, whatever we were doing was working. And it's like I say, it's one of those, once in a career type teams. But I think that's fueled by, an organization that does things the right way, and builds teams the right way, and treats players the right way, that players want to come here. And like I said, we had some older veteran guys that could have gone a number of places, but because of those things, I think, wanted to come here, and that helped us kind of build that room. And a lot of special memories for sure.
Yeah. You played a lot of playoff games in your career, but where do you rank the 2015 Eastern Final Game 7 against Toledo?
Yeah, I mean, that again, that has to be, that has to be one of the most, most enjoyable games of my career, certainly. There's definitely some special memories along the way, but that one, I think, kind of stands out. Just even the roller coaster of the series. I think it was, we had started the series up there. I think it was a 2-3-2, and so we won. We swept the first 2 games up there. So we were coming back home with a 2-0 lead, and 3 games at home, and feeling like we're in a good place. And won game 3 at home. I think it was an overtime game, if I remember right. I think Rob Ricci scored the game winner, and feeling like we're up 3-0. And Toledo, I mean, in that run, we had to go through 3 very good teams to get to the final. I mean, Toledo, we had beaten Florida before that, was one of the better teams at that time, and Toledo was really offensively one of the better teams in the league. And so, we'd already gone through a lot to get there, kind of riding a high of going up 3-0, and to kind of cycle back down. We lost the next 2 at home, and it was like, now we got to, bust all the way back up to Toledo for game 6 and 7. And, lost game 6. We just blew a 3-0 lead. Like, we've come so far, had all these things. And so going into that game, even leading up, was such a roller coaster. And, kind of going back to Carbs and how he managed players, and kind of knew, we had a conversation, before we went back on the road. I was, struggling a little bit, had a couple of not my better games at home. And so we talked a little bit, and just kind of settling things down. And he reiterated that, I was his guy, and I was, wherever it took us, he was going to, give me that opportunity. And so I think that helped kind of settle me down, and just realize to, just go out, focus on the next puck. And it was one of those strange games where it just, I tried to kind of break it down of, focus on one shot at a time, and just stop the next puck. That's all I have to do. And it was a great environment. I mean, Toledo has great crowds. At that point of the season, I mean, it was, a sold out barn, and they're rowdy, and it was a lot of fun to play up there. They throw the fish on the ice when they score, and it's, it's a great barn to play in. And so there was a point, I think it would have been maybe the second or even third overtime, where I remember there was a TV timeout, and I remember just kind of pausing, and there wasn't a lot going on because it was a TV timeout, and just kind of looking around and thinking to myself, like, how cool of an experience it was. Here we are in overtime, in game 7 of the conference final. And like, to have the opportunity to be in the net and play and have that experience and even have that kind of pause to just take it all in and really savor that moment of how cool that was. And shortly after that, Joe came down and scored. And so obviously it's, the fact that we won, I think, makes it a lot better memory. But yeah, that's certainly one of the games that stands out. From all the games I've played in my career, I think that was one of the most most enjoyable to be a part of. It just a great atmosphere, great team. I mean, two really good teams. I had some good friends on the other side, and a great environment, and the fact that we won to win a trip to the Kelly Cup Finals was icing on the cake. So.
Is there a second game that stands out to you?
It depends on in what way. I do. There's one I always, from a Stingray standpoint, at least, one I always think back on was, it was kind of a lot of things came together in one night. So it was a regular season game that same year. And kind of going back to that like circus kind of atmosphere was, and I think I'm getting it right, but we were playing, I think I can't remember if it was to tie or to break the ECHL win streak record. We were going for like 16 or 17 at the time. It was a home game. Mm-hmm. I think it was military appreciation night or pack the house night, like kind of all in one. So it was a big night from like a win streak standpoint. It was a big night from an organization and a promotional standpoint.
And for you as well, because you had that streak of, I think, 23 straight, right?
Yeah. So it was during that. So this was, so the streak ended at, I think, 23. And this would have been going for, I think, 16 or 17. This was to break the ECHL record at the time. And it was pack the house night, military appreciation night. Mm-hmm. We were playing Gwinnett, and it was also, they brought in Ric Flair as like, it was kind of a Ric Flair promo night. So they came out, he came in the locker room beforehand, and he's, just of course, right in the character, and he's giving the guys a pump up speech. And so we're all kind of laughing, and we go out and he does the ceremonial puck drop, and they give him a microphone. And of course, he's working the crowd. He's, pointing at the bench on Gwinnett and calling guys out. And it was just like, it was hilarious. And so we ended up, we scored a couple goals right away, went up like 2-3-0 in the first period. I think it ended up being like a 6-0 game or something. We just blew the doors off. There was, a huge crowd at the time. Like I said, it was a big night all around, kind of for the organization, for the guys. It kind of, Ric Flair was there putting on a show, and it just had this kind of feeling of like I said, that circus atmosphere of just, you're laughing and you're having a good time and you're having success, and the atmosphere is great. And it's just one of those nights where everything kind of comes together. And that one always stands out in my mind as, when I look back on and smile. So
that is impressive to get the Nature Boy in there and get everybody fired up.
I had gone to a couple games since then, and they do, I can't remember which, if it's second or third intermission, they do, or second or third period, they do like a pump the crowd up video, and it cuts to him when he does his woo. And one of them is a clip from that game when he's on the ice and he's got the mic and he does it. And I always kind of snap back into that memory when I see that clip. So yeah, it's funny.
Nice. You guys are going to be reunited Saturday evening there, and you're going to be inducted into the Stingrays Hall of Fame with Patrick Gall. I have to imagine that given everything that we've been through over the last couple of years as a society and in the hockey world as well, that this night for you to get to see your fellow alum is going to be pretty special. And then to take that next step and move into a special class of player there and make it into the Stingrays Hall of Fame?
Yeah, definitely. I think you hit the nail on the head with that. Is it's certainly don't get out enough or as much as I would like to, connect with and see those guys. Patrick and I, we were roommates on the road for a long time, and I texted him after we both found out, and I said, like, it couldn't be more fitting for us to share the night and go into the Hall of Fame together, because we spent so much of our time with the Stingrays together and on the road, and really just a great human being, one of the best guys that I've had an opportunity to play with, and great family. And certainly looking forward to seeing Patrick and his folks, and reminiscing a little bit. And like you said, we haven't had enough of an opportunity to do that over the last couple of years, so it'll be a lot of fun to get together and spend some time together and make up for some of that lost time. Like you say, I know it's hockey's very unique, and you come together with guys and teams, and you spend a lot of time together, and you ride that roller coaster of ups and downs and struggles, and guys get injured and traded, and you have all these struggles and tough times. And then once you retire, life moves on, and we have jobs, and we're busy, and we have families, and you don't necessarily get the time or take the time that you should, to really spend time with those people and see those people. And so it'll be a special night. My parents are coming down. They're looking forward to it. My wife and boy will be here, and we've they've been through it all, here, especially the journey here. We have a lot of memories. I remember those runs, looking up and seeing my wife after the games when we've had a tough game, and her kind of riding those highs and lows and that roller coaster along with me. And talking about that family atmosphere, that the organization, Rob, Carbs, Wars, they would let me go out on the ice. Bill Reed, who was running the rink, he would give me time to take my boy out on the ice after morning skate, and just cruise around, just the two of us. And there's not many kids that have an opportunity to do that. And so to think back even on some of those memories where it's not the games and it's not the struggle, but being able to share that that journey and that adventure with them. And to have my parents there, my wife there, my boy, my family, Patrick, people that have been such a big part of that journey from the beginning, really is it'll be a really special night to kind of look back on all that and really appreciate that journey, kind of from start to finish, and everything that went into it, and the highs and lows along the way. So looking forward to it for sure.
One final question for me, and I it's an open-ended one, so I'll turn it over to you. What message do you have for Stingrays fans?
Oh man, that's a hard to break down into one. I mean, the first thing that snaps into my mind is just thank you. I mean, I think we got a taste of what the game and the environment is like in empty buildings, and when you can't have those fan interactions, and how much removing that aspect takes away from our experience as players. And so I think that would be the first thing I would want to say is thank you. That's in all those stories, in Toledo, even though we didn't like their fans at the time, the environment that they created in that building, and through their enthusiasm and support and coming out and watching, and especially here. I mean, the Stingrays have a great booster organization that does a lot to support the players, whether it's snacks for the road, or supplies for the apartment, whatever it might be, having dinners, seeing people in the summertime, is they really help create that welcoming and that family environment. And as a player, when fans are there and they're rowdy and they're into the game, it gives you that extra, push. And it's, they're just as much a part of those memories as anyone else. The environment in those buildings, fans are the ones who make that special. I think if there was one thing I could say to them, it's thank you, for making, that journey so special and being a part of it. And, there's a lot of kids. I mentioned, the 14U team is at nationals right now. And a lot of those kids I met early on, when they were, tiny little guys coming to the rink and cheering on the Stingrays. So Eric Gardner, the guy I mentioned earlier, who kind of helped me get my current job, his boys were Stingrays fans, and that's how we met, was, through them coming to the game and supporting the team. And I got to know them in through youth hockey, and that's how I ended up in my current position. So it's, there's such an important part and such a big part of, what we experience as players. And I think, especially here in South Carolina, it's, the team's been around for such a long time because of that support and because of the community here and, what they do and how they support the team. So it's, thank you.
Well, this has been a blast to get caught up with you and to walk through your career and kind of live it vicariously through you. Thank you so much for doing this, man. Congratulations on the honor of being named into the South Carolina Stingrays Hall of Fame. Hopefully that is not the only Hall of Fame career that Hall of Fame, honor that we put with your name. Hopefully we see you in the ECHL Hall of Fame one of these days, and it would be cool to catch up with you then too. All the best to you, man, and we'll catch up with you down the road.
Yeah, that sounds great. Again, thank you. Thanks very much for having me on. It's always, I don't talk hockey enough anymore, so it's always fun to, talk through some of these memories and reminisce a little bit. And very much appreciate the opportunity to get together and have some fun walking through the glory days. So really enjoyed it, and look forward to the game on the 9th.